Here we go. So we are stringing up a basic gemstone bracelet today. Super easy to do. I have a Palo Santo stick, and I thought I would teach you a little bit about cleansing your beads ahead of time. You can use sage, the sunlight. Sometimes I put them on a plate of salt, rinse them in water. The kits that I sent out for the meditation series are already cleansed, but this is just a good idea of how to cleanse your beads. I'm putting this Palo Santo in a candle flame and it's smoking up a little bit. And all you do is just run it over your beads. You can hold like a whole string of beads. You can use a sage plant. A lot of times I like to get sage from my CSA. And so it's just white garden sage and just light one. And I'll light one little tiny leaf and I'll wave it in my office or wave it over my jewelry or in a room. And if you don't want to use a lot of sage at the time, that's a perfect way to do it because it's just a small amount. So anyway, you take your stretchy cord. Now I have stretchy cord that's too long and that's on purpose, right? This is way longer than my wrist, but you don't want to get stuck when you're tying the knot. You don't want it to be so short, your beads fall off. So longer is better. And then what you're going to want to do, if you're making more than one bracelet, you're going to tape it to the table. If you're doing just one bracelet, you can always keep it on the spool. And then that way it has a dead end. The dead end keeps the beads from falling all over the place. But I like to go ahead and tape it. So I'm just going to take a little bit of tape and tape it down to the table, just like completely simply like that. So one end is anchored like that, right? So I already have one that's finished off. I know my wrist is about 21 beads in diameter. So this bracelet here is basically just 8mm beads with a simple spacer every once in a while. This one has a beautiful big giant spacer in the middle. I always like to wear this one on my wrist. So if these are 8mm, these are actually raw black tourmaline. And I mix them up with other size spacers and little tiny gemstone beads. You can totally get creative. The kit that I have is just this kind of basic when you're first getting started. This is another one where this is one of my favorites. I wear it every day. It's almost all 8mm, but then there's a couple of babies at the back end and this giant rose quartz. So this one, instead of wearing it like this, just intuitively, I like to wear it just with this part on my wrist. It's just up to you and how you feel into the space, how you feel into the beads. This one was made by a friend of mine, and these are teeny tiny baby ones, but they feel just as powerful as big ones. The size of the stones really doesn't matter. That's just for the beauty and the look. The size doesn't matter. It's just the energy that the stones are holding. So I went ahead and did this already so that you wouldn't have to watch me put the beads on, but I'll just show you just for just for the sake of how easy it is. You find the hole basically, and if it's anchored down, you drop it and you grab the next bead. The last one should be the one with the biggest hole. So when you tie it off, you can hide the tie mark. So you see here I have a tea towel. That's on purpose. So if you're doing something that's fancy that has like a pattern to it, you want to watch your pattern play out. This one is yellow jasper and rhodonite. And I like to mix those together because it's so nurturing. It just feels like, it almost feels like maternal nurturing to me. So I had one and it broke, and it's been about a year since I've had one. So I thought it would be time to make another one today. An idea for you is when your bracelet has worked really hard for you, it might let you know. I've heard strange stories about bracelets just breaking out of nowhere. I received a gemstone bracelet from a friend for Christmas. And I also made one and I put them on and they both broke within a day. And I wasn't even being really crazy with them. I think I was asking them to do so much for me. It was too much. And so I took my friend's bracelet and buried the stones and just said, thanks for helping, you know? Um, but I remember my son walking through some seriously hard times and we got him a bracelet. And I was there when it snapped off his wrist. He was just standing there and just like snapped off his wrist. And I was like, what just happened? And he was like, I don't know. I was like, did you bang it? And he's like, no. And I was like, that's really weird. I fixed it and it broke and I fixed it and it broke. So I was like, this is so many years ago. So I went into Google and said, is there a reason that a gemstone bracelet might break? Right. Because I wondered, like, could it be energetic? And 100%, I saw so many people saying when your bracelet has worked really hard and it's about all the energy it can absorb or whatever it's doing for you, then you thank it for its service and you give it back to the earth. So I was able to do this when my son was in like 5th grade. I was able to take my son out to the forest and we just were like, thank you. And we buried it. So just keep that in mind, that your bracelet will need cleansed. So I like to run mine underwater. But like if I'm in the bathroom or something like that, and I just feel like it just wants a good rinse, or you can set them in, I have a selenite, which is another gemstone. This is actually selenite. It's a very light, the stone is like hardness level of 2, I think. It will melt in water, it will flake off, but it's a cleanser. So I have like a little shallow jewelry bowl that I keep the bracelets that I wear every day, the ones that I wear to our healing center. I will cleanse them every day when I go to bed at night, because selenite doesn't need cleansing, it actually cleanses. So just keep that in mind, that you're going to want to weigh, especially if you are using them because you need them. They're not just jewelry, you really feel like you need them, then you're going to want to cleanse them. So back to our bracelet here. I'm going to untape it and I'm going to hold carefully. I mean, somebody is going to spill their beads from this kit because it's just going to happen. So you're going to want to wrap your fingers around it a couple of times and give it a good stretch, because you don't want it to get its good stretch when it's on your arm and then it wants to break. You just want to give it a good stretch. And then what I do is I guessed, right? I guess because I don't know really how wide these spacers are. I just sort of took a guess. And you're going to want to give it just one little tug, like one little knot, just enough so it doesn't fall apart. And then slide it on your wrist and see what you think. That to me is way too big. So I'm going to go ahead and take a stone, maybe 2. I'm going to take 2 off. And then I'll do it again, right? And when you get it to the size that you want, I'll show you. Oh my gosh, it's so simple. But if you're like me, the first time I was like, somebody needs to teach me because I don't want it to break. So yeah, that feels better. I think I'm going to put one of the stones back on. So you're going to do essentially a triple knot where you're going to tie it one direction and then shift and tie it the other direction and then tie it the other direction. I'll show you. But a lot of times people, some people love to use super glue. Some people don't. I do. So, I mean, I don't know, just do it, whatever feels best for you, right? So I want this to be way more even when I try to tie it because I do not want to spill my beads. So look at how much extra cord that we're going to waste, unfortunately, which I don't like wasting, but you also need to have it. So you're going to, look how hard I am pulling that. I'm really pulling that tight. You want it really tight. And then I'm going down so that I can make it tight again. So I'm going to go the other direction. And then you're going to pull it tight again. Super tight, right? See how I'm trying to create tension while I'm holding it to tie it, because I really want it to be tight. And then I'm going to tie it off one more time. It's always funny when you know you're going the strange way to tie it because it just feels strange to tie it. So see, I'm not afraid to really pull it tight. And then, wow, I forgot my little tiny baby scissors. I like to use they almost look like surgical scissors, My husband ties flies, and they're like super, super, super small. So that's your best way to tie it off or to cut it off. But truth be told, my spacer is so gigantic, nobody's going to see the end result. So you find your knot. I don't even know if you can see it, but you're going to pull it apart, find your knot, and just grab your super glue and just put a couple of dabs of super glue right on your knot. Little tip, if you super glue your fingers together, lemon essential oil, it will eat through it. So one time at the office, I broke my sandal and I super glued it together, waited a half hour, put it on, super glued my foot to my sandal. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm like sort of stuck here for hours, but I had lemon essential oil and put it right on there. I was like, it has worked on small scale, and I unglued myself. So that's just a nice tip. All right. So here's my lovely bracelet. And then I'm not going to wear it because I don't want to glue myself. I'm not going to wear it for a couple of hours. Super, super simple. I hope you love it. I hope you find really cool ways to cleanse it. And I hope it helps you, right? I really wanted to show you a couple of different designs so that you can get really creative in your approach, right? Whether you want to do something that's like multicolored or one size or multiple sizes, different things on different arms, like your ideas are endless. So I hope you have a really good time with it. Bye-bye.